Tom Vasel's top 100 games of all time. Some say that Tom is like a giant among men. Others say he's a little obsessed.
I don't even have a top 10.
Tom Vasel's top 100 games of all time.
Woo! I'm ready to go. Here we go. This is it. The top 5 of all time, at least as of December 16th, 2011. Will it change? Probably. I just played a game a couple weeks ago that I know is already in my top 100. What is it? Tune into the Dice Tower audio show in a few weeks to hear our best of 2011. But for now, we have 5 games, and there's probably not a lot of surprise for those of you who follow this list for any point. But for those of you who don't, you may be surprised that you've not heard of any of these games before. But hey, they're fantastic. You will notice that the games in my list, and I'm very enthusiastic, and I will say these are the best games ever. And I've been accused recently of, kind of being a bully with my opinions, and I don't really care what other people think of games. I mean, if you don't like any of these 5 games, which is perfectly reasonable, that's fine. But I'm going to be enthusiastic about them because I love games. And I know a lot of people who like these games I'm about to talk about, and I like playing games with them. But you might like completely different games. In fact, you can check out the Dice Tower People's Choice Top 5, and they have 5 different games than I do. And that might be more agreeable to your tastes, and they're great games too. Or Melody's. She has one game the same as my top 5, but you'll have to go see about that. Or 2 games actually this year. So maybe we're getting a little too much alike, but we'll have to wait and see for hers. Let's get to mine. Here we go. Number 5.
Number 5, Summoner Wars.
You'll note that Summoner Wars was on my list last year, but certainly not this high, but I cannot deny how much fun it is. Now, part of that is because the Master Set came out with 6 new factions that I was able to add to the 8 factions I already have. I have 14 different factions now, and also with the reinforcement packs, but I just keep playing this. It's so simple, it's so easy. I can play easily with my daughter. She understands it. Each of the factions plays differently. It plays smoothly. I have not played any other card game in this regard where there's a back and forth between players that works as smoothly as this. I love Yomi. I love On Guard. I love, there's a lot of games where back and forth card battling between players, Battleground Fantasy Warfare, which I mentioned last time and stuff, but none play as nicely as this one does. The thin deck that will run out. You will have access to every unit in your deck. Games can be quick or long, depending on how, but I mean long, we're talking 30 minutes or so. Easy to set up, easy to transport, tons of options. Every game will play different, and tactics are important, and yet you roll dice. It's everything I love in a box, and has a nice fantasy universe that's somewhat different than all the fantasy universes that we've seen so far. I mean, there's orcs and elves, but there's jungle elves, and there's tundra orcs. It's just a bit different, and it's cool. Good artwork. The game just sails, and I cannot wait to see what's in store for the future. But for now, if nothing else ever came out for this game again, it would still remain in my top 100 easy. Summoner Wars.
Number 4, Ticket to Ride.
I remember when Ticket to Ride first came out, and I said to the CEO of Days Wonder at the time, I said, don't you think that possibly the Beatles might sue over the name of their song? And he said, I hope so, because then the game will get some recognition. Well, the suit never happened, and the game doesn't need it, because Ticket to Ride is easily one of the most popular games ever designed. And it's neat. And you guys know I'm a huge fan of theming. But the theming can be kind of iffy in Ticket to Ride. I mean, you're trying to build trains from one town to another town, but you can make way out of the way routes which don't make sense. But I like it, and I love it, because not only is it a very family-friendly game, I can play this game anywhere with anybody, really. But at the same time, I am still cutthroat with other gamers, especially my wife. Just head-to-head, who's going to win? They just came out with the first map expansion box, which has Asia and Team, and it's fantastic. And then the India map is coming out. They got Switzerland, they got a Markland map, they got Europe, they got the Nordic countries, and then they got the original game, the USA. There's a ton of different maps out. You can play it online. The iPad edition is brilliantly done, but it's just so simple. draw 2 cards, play some trains, or take new tickets. That's all there is. And when I was first explained it, those were the 3 rules, I kind of in my head I said, really? That's it? What's the fuss about? But after I played my first game, I was hooked. And I played this game almost more than almost any other game in my collection, when you count all the different versions especially. But it's just amazing. And, you know, if it was just a good family game, it would probably be in my top 100. But I personally love it too. Which of the Tickets Rides is my favorite? Well, let's wait till my review on this new Asian map, and we'll see.
Number 3, Duel of Ages.
Duel of Ages! What a wonderful game. And I'm still waiting for the 2nd edition, which I have seen and messed with, to come out. It's a neat idea, and we'll see. Maybe it will come out someday. But the fact is, Duel of Ages, I will stand up here and say, for a long time it was my favorite game. It's number 3. That's not a big drop. It's only because the 2 games in front of it I just found myself liking more. But Duel of Ages, just... I don't know what to tell you about it. It's so weird and yet fantastic to be able to take characters from all throughout history, move them around a map, pick up weapons from all throughout history, and fight each other. So I had Pecos Bill using a submachine gun fighting Venya, who is a robot android from the future, who happens to have a old dagger of truth that she is throwing and missing because Kit Carson and Robin Hood and other people are going by riding a motorcycle and a black stallion and using some magical cube. All this being done, and there's a bowling tournament down the street. And that sounds weird and unusual, and it is, and the game comes down to lots of dice rolling and such, or card drawing, depending on what version of the game. But the stories that you tell, and that's what's great, and that's what's important about a game, is that when you're done with it, you say, do you remember that time this happened? Do you remember the time that I pegged you from halfway across the board with that missile? And I say, oh yeah, and that one time in the fight, it was only the football helmet that my Viking was wearing that saved me. And when Beowulf came in, armed with a chainsaw. You know, stories like that are fantastic, and that is what Duel of Ages does. It's not super complex, but it would be, you know, it's in the upper medium range of complexity. There's a lot of things, there's a lot of expansions, and unfortunately, it's not so easy to find these days. It's not being published at this point in time, and you got to hunt it on eBay and such. But if you can get a chance to play it, it can be quite a bit of fun. Duel of Ages.
Number 2, Hero Escape.
Hero Escape is dead. Long live Hero Escape, because it's not dead. And Hero Escape had a fantastic run. I mean, can you imagine a game about toys, toy models, with really cool, simplistic rules, with the most awesome interconnecting terrain that has ever been devised for any game, sold at Toys R Us for very inexpensive prices with painted miniatures, and then it lasted for at least 5 years. So much stuff came out for it. It's easy to find. They even came out with a marble version of it, a Dungeons and Dragons version of it, which incidentally both of those can still easily be found. And it's great. And it's been discontinued, but so what? Okay, it would be neat to see that it's still in the stores and get it. And like I said, you can get the D&D version still easily and play it. But there is a community at Heroscapers.com, and they are constantly creating new units. I have hundreds of units that these people have made, from Superman. I have Legolas from Lord of the Rings, and this all can be used against each other. Now, actually, HeroClix does something very similar, but Heroscape was just so fast and so simple and so easy. I was able to lay it out and build giant setups, and you know, it's almost like it just reminds me of Legos. I get to build it, and when I'm done, we get to play. And we get to play with huge armies and take robots against soldiers from the colonial army, against Spider-Man, against a giant ogre. That's rockin' cool. If you could tell, I really like the game, and it's one I like to play a lot. I don't win very often. As I found out in a tournament, I got a nice try prize, but it's just fantastic. So I'm not going to gloat on it anymore or talk about how wonderful it is, because play it. You'll see for yourself.
Number 1, Cosmic Encounter.
Same as last year, Cosmic Encounter is my number 1 game. What changed since last year? Nothing. Have I played it since last year? Definitely. Is it still fun? Yes. Have I played it with people who don't necessarily understand it? Yes. But Cosmic Encounter is, I think, the oldest game on my list, and it's number 1. And that is saying something, folks. Cosmic Encounter, you've got to play it at least once, and you got to play it with a great group of people, which is most groups. But you play it, and you're an alien trying to conquer other alien worlds. And you're playing cards down, and each of you has a special alien power, which changes the course of the game. And with 2 expansions, and a 3rd expansion is coming out in just a couple months, with the power to party, different things that you're able to do with different rules and so much going on. You will never play the same game twice, because you will always have a different mix of aliens run by different players with different things happening. It is cool. It is fun, and you stand up, and if you get into the theme, which I do, it's just amazing. I cannot imagine a better game, and it's not that long. Games take about 90 minutes usually, and they can go up to 8 players now, which is kind of crazy. I still think it's best with 6 players, or maybe 5, just that back and forth. But the Fantasy Flight has done a absolutely stunning production, with the best developer, Kevin Wilson, on it, a fan of Cosmic Encounter, and I'm so pleased to see his work. He just has done a great job, and with one of the original designers, Peter Lotka, they're coming out with a fan-based expansion coming out in the future. There's just so much to do. Go to the Cosmic Encounter Facebook page, and I could really rave about this game all day, but I won't, because I want you to finish watching the video. All I'll say is that I just love it. I love it. I've loved it the minute I played it when I was 8 years old. And now, 27 years later, I am still absolutely thinking this is the greatest game ever. Cosmic Encounter. Well, that's it. That's my top 100 games of all time as of 2011. And like I said, you might disagree with me, and I want you to disagree with me. Come to Dicetower.com, go to our forums, disagree, tell me which games you think are better. If you like this show, if you like this, we do a lot of video reviews, not just me, but I have a wonderful staff, Ryan Metzler and the Chief and others who are reviewing lots of games. Check them out, but you can also go to our website, Dicetower.com, where if you like this top 100, we do top 10 lists all the time, and we do them on our audio show, The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is the show that started this whole thing off, and me and my co-host, Eric Summerer, each week make a podcast that's about, somewhere between an hour and 90 minutes usually, where we just talk all about games. We talk about the new games that are coming out, board game news, we answer your questions, and every other week we do our top 10 games of whatever category it is. And in a few weeks, we're going to be doing our top 10 games of 2011. So check that out if you've never tried it before. Subscribe to this channel. Give me feedback. You can always email me at tomvasel@gmail.com. Let me know what you think. I want to say a huge thank you to all my listeners. 2011, while it's not over yet, has been an amazing year. And you guys have been fantastic. So much has happened this year. We added more reviewers to the Dice Tower. We started up our weekly news video segment, and we got something else in store in just a week or two that will be rolling out, the Dice Tower Network. But for me, when I look back at 2011, I'm so thankful, one, for all the people who helped me. The guy who does my intros and outro, Eric Timothy Pinkham. Hire him, people, to do your music. He did the intro and outro for the Dice Tower. It's a great piece of music. So many people helped me out, and I really can't name them all, but you can go find them on my website. And a huge thank you to all of them. But a big thank you to all of you. When I did my top 100 a year ago, I just watched it recently, and I looked at the ending where we just did it now, and I had Melody with me, and we were cheering because our top 100 was done for a time. And we dedicated the series to my son Jack. And I said, I hope someday you'll be able to watch it. Well, if you've watched our show at all in the past, you'll know that Jack went to be with the Lord in January of 2011. And that was the best thing for him. He was very sick, and I'm glad for him, sad for us. But the Jack Vasel Memorial Fund started out about that, and you can find out more information at our website on that. But so many of you sent me emails, and that 2011 was a great year. I look forward to 2012. I think it will be better. I hope something like that doesn't have to happen there. But I do want to say from me to you, to all those of you who watch my videos, a huge thank you. Thanks. You've been watching The Dice Tower. I'm Tom Vasel.
Tom Vasel's top 100 games of all time.